GPT-5.3 Codex versus Claude Opus 4.6. Which wins for real dev work? Opening hook. If you've ever wished your AI coding assistant could stop being a clever autocomplete and start acting like a real teammate, this week's model releases probably caught your eye. So here's the big question for IT leaders and developers right now. GPT 5.3 Codex versus Claude Opus 4.6. Who actually delivers when the work gets messy? Introduction. Today, we're doing a practical, developer-first comparison between OpenAI's GPT 5.3 Codex and Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.6. Both were announced on February 5, 2026, and both are positioned as agentic models that can handle longer, more realistic tasks. Think multi-step debugging, repo-wide refactors, tool use, and even operating on a computer interface. If you're responsible for developer productivity, secure SDLC, or you're just the person everyone pings when the build breaks, this matters because model choice is quickly becoming a platform decision, not a novelty. Segment 1. What these models are actually optimized for. Let's start with the framing because the marketing can blur together fast. GPT 5.3 Codex is being pitched as OpenAI's most capable agentic coding model to date, and a key theme is that it combines strong coding performance with improved reasoning and broader professional knowledge. OpenAI also emphasizes that it's faster than the prior generation, 25% faster, according to their release, and that you can interact with it while it's working without it losing the thread. That stay interactive mid-task detail sounds small, but for real dev work it's huge, because long-running agents need steering. When you're halfway through a migration and you realize the constraints changed, you don't want to restart from scratch. Claude Opus 4.6, on the other hand, is leaning hard into reliability and long-horizon work. Anthropic calls out more careful planning, longer sustained agentic tasks, better performance in larger codebases, and stronger code review and debugging, specifically the ability to catch its own mistakes. They also highlight a beta 1 million token context window for Opus class models, plus very large output capability. In plain language, Opus 4.6 is trying to be the model you trust when the change set is big and the blast radius is real. So the cleanest mental model is this. GPT 5.3 Codex is aiming to be a fast, interactive coding agent that can operate broadly like a colleague on a computer. Claude Opus 4.6 is aiming to be a careful, long-context, long-duration problem solver that does particularly well when the task is complicated, multi-document, and easy to derail. Segment 2. Coding and agent benchmarks and what they mean in practice. Benchmarks don't ship software. Teams do. Still, benchmarks can tell you what each vendor is optimizing for. On the OpenAI side, GPT 5.3 Codex is presented as setting new highs on SWE-Bench Pro and Terminal Bench 2.0 and showing strong performance on OS World and GDP Val. The important nuance is SWE-Bench Pro. OpenAI highlights that it spans multiple languages and is designed to be more contamination-resistant than older SWE-Bench setups. If you're a tech lead supporting polyglot services, maybe some Python, some TypeScript, some Go, this is OpenAI basically saying, we're not only good at one ecosystem. On the Anthropic side, Opus 4.6 is presented as state-of-the-art on evaluations like Terminal Bench 2.0, and Anthropic also positions it as strong on broader reasoning tests. More importantly for day-to-day engineering, Anthropic is emphasizing the workflow capabilities, sustaining longer tasks, working more reliably in large codebases, and improving code review and debugging. If you've ever had a model generate code that compiles but violates your architecture or misses a subtle edge case, you know why. Debugging and self-correction is the feature, not the benchmark score. Here's where it gets interesting. Both vendors point to OS World, which is a sign the competition isn't only who writes functions, but who can complete a task that spans code plus environment. That's the future of these tools. Agents that can run tests, inspect logs, open docs, change configs, and verify the fix, end to end. So if you're choosing based purely on who is best at coding, you're already behind the curve. The real question is, which model is best at the kind of coding your team does, inside your constraints, with your tooling, under your security rules? Context, long horizon work, and working in big repos. Moving on to the part that most teams feel immediately, context windows, memory, and long horizon task completion. Anthropic is very explicit here. Claude Opus 4.6 includes a beta 1 million token context window, plus a feature they describe as context compaction, automatic summarization and replacement of older context as you approach limits. so the model can keep working without hard stopping. They also mention large outputs, up to 128K output tokens, for teams doing repo-wide modernization, security audits, or trace this bug across 5 services. This matters because context is where most agents fail. They either forget earlier constraints, or they keep everything and get too slow and expensive. OpenAI's GPT-5.3 Codex announcement doesn't lead with a huge context number in the same way. Instead, they stress that Codex can keep going on long-running tasks involving research, tool use, and complex execution while still allowing interactive steering, and they highlight speed improvements. That points to a different optimization. Keep the loop tight, keep the developer in control, and reduce the waiting for the agent pain. How does this translate to your daily work? If your code base is massive and your tasks look like analyze this repo, then refactor a cross-cutting concern, then update documentation, then verify tests, Opus 4.6's big context posture may reduce how much you have to chunk work manually. If your tasks look like rapidly implement, run, fix, rerun, with a lot of back and forth, GPT 5.3 Codex's speed and interactive steering may feel more natural. And let's be honest, most teams need both modes. Sometimes you want a careful planner, sometimes you want a fast pair programmer. The winning move might not be choosing one model, but choosing which model handles which class of task. Tool use, agents, and security posture. Now, let's talk about the part that makes security teams lean forward. Agentic capability plus real tool access. OpenAI frames GPT 5.3 Codex as moving from write and review code to do nearly anything developers and professionals can do on a computer. They also tie the release to cybersecurity initiatives, like a pilot program they call Trusted Access for Cyber and expanding security-oriented offerings. Whether you're in a regulated environment or you're supporting critical infrastructure, the direction is clear. Agentic systems are being treated as potential security accelerators, not just productivity tools. Anthropic, meanwhile, is also leaning into security credibility. Recent coverage highlighted Anthropic's claim that Opus 4.6 found a large number of high-severity security flaws in open-source libraries during testing. Now, you should treat vendor claims carefully and validate with your own processes. But the bigger takeaway is that both companies are competing hard in the AI for secure engineering lane. And Opus 4.6 includes an interesting workflow concept, agent teams in Claude Code as a research preview, basically modeling how an engineering team might distribute work across sub-agents. That's a fascinating idea because it matches how real teams operate, but it also raises governance questions. If you let agents fan out, you need guardrails for permissions, secrets, and audit trails. So here's the operational lens I'd use. Before you argue about which model is smarter, ask, can you constrain it? Can you observe it? Can you audit it? Can you reproduce what it did? And can you limit what it can touch when it's wrong? Because in production environments, the failure mode you care about isn't it wrote slightly messy code. It's it modified the wrong file, leaked a secret, or applied a risky change confidently. Practical takeaways. All right, let's make this actionable. If you're deciding between GPT 5.3 Codex and Claude Opus 4.6 for your org, I'd encourage you to run a short bake-off that looks like your actual work, not a toy prompt. First, choose one realistic task that's painful and frequent. Something like upgrade a framework version across a service, update tests, fix the breaking changes, and produce a clean pull request description. Then run it with each model under the same constraints. Same repo snapshot, same tool access, same unit tests, same time limit. Second, watch for the hidden tax behaviors. Does the model ask clarifying questions before it changes things? Or does it charge ahead? Does it overfit to one approach? Does it keep track of what it already tried? When a test fails, does it actually reason from the error message? Or does it shotgun edits until something passes? Third, evaluate review quality separately from generation quality. A lot of teams are discovering that the biggest ROI comes from AI doing code review, risk spotting, and edge case analysis, not just writing new code. Anthropic explicitly calls out improvements in code review and debugging with Opus 4.6, so make it prove that in your environment. Fourth, put $signs on it. If a model is slightly better but twice the cost for your workload, that changes the answer. Opus 4.6 pricing is published publicly, including input and output token rates and notes about caching and batching, which helps you model this realistically. And finally, consider a two-model strategy. Use GPT 5.3 Codex for fast interactive implementation loops, smaller scope changes, and tasks where speed matters. Use Claude Opus 4.6 for the big stuff. Repo-scale reasoning, multi-document synthesis, deep debugging, security review, and long horizon agent runs. That's not vendor neutrality for its own sake. This is just matching tools to failure modes. One more real-world example. If you're a platform team maintaining golden templates and internal libraries, Opus 4.6 might shine when you say, analyze the last 6 months of PRs, identify the recurring mistakes teams make, and propose a safe refactor plan. If you're a product team trying to ship a feature by Friday, GPT-5.3 Codex might be the one you keep in your IDE because it stays snappy while still being agentic. Closing and call to action. So where do we land? GPT 5.3 Codex is the fast, interactive agentic collaborator OpenAI is pushing across the Codex experience, with strong benchmark claims and a clear focus on end-to-end computer work. Claude Opus 4.6 is the careful, long-context, long-duration model. Anthropic is positioning for big code bases, serious reasoning, and stronger debugging and review. Your best choice depends less on the name on the model card and more on your workflow, your constraints, and how you measure success. If you want to get this right, run a bake-off on your own repos, score it on correctness and risk, not vibes, and then standardize how your teams use it. If you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe to the Cloud Pro Inc. podcast and share this episode with the one person on your team who's always evaluating new AI tools, because they're going to get asked about these two models a lot. Until next time, take care and ship safely.